If you have been rocking with me for any amount of time, by now you may be aware that I used to have an entanglement in my late 20s with a grandiose narcissist. And when I say grandiose, honey, I mean one of the most bizarre people you have ever met in your life. He's the kind of person who everybody that knows him knows that something ain't quite right with him, but you just don't quite know what that something is. And basically, what it is a lot of delusions of grandeur, a lot of lying, mostly like compulsive lying, um, and just the kind of person who wants to be king but doesn't want to really do the work to be leader. Okay, so I had this relationship with this person, and I call this person Voldemort because he reminds me of the character in Harry Potter. Just this slimy, evil energy, a person that knows they're a villain and is very content to be so. That's Voldemort energy. But what I didn't know, and you didn't know because I didn't know, was that I actually dated a narcissist before Voldemort. This narcissist I call Hannibal, after Hannibal Lecter. If you've seen Silence of the Lambs, you can know what this kind of villain archetype is like. This is a more refined villain, a villain who doesn't want to be a villain, doesn't want people to know he's a villain. This is the covert narcissist versus the grandiose narcissist that Voldemort is. Okay? And the reason why you didn't know this is because I didn't know Hannibal was a covert narcissist. Had no idea. As a matter of fact, I didn't even know what a covert narcissist was at 22 years old. I didn't even know they existed until I was in my 30s, okay? So many of you might have been of that same mindset. So recently, I had a lot of issues with this Hannibal. A lot. A lot. And I went through some really bad times, some really emotional times, I would say. And I thought that it would be a good idea to make a video because you guys know whenever I go through something, I don't think it makes sense to go through something that doesn't help me or help other people. I feel like if I'm going to go through something, it needs to be worth it. Okay. So today we're going to talk about this situation. And not only am I going to tell you about narcissists and my situation with narcissists, please stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to read some statements from some of you guys. I have like 10 statements or so where I'm going to talk about narcissists. And these come directly from you guys. I call them survivor statements. And they're statements that you guys gave me about the narcissist that you have dealt with and how it affected you. Now, if by any reason this video is too long, I'll just do a part 2. But at the end, I'm definitely going to read those and discuss them. So my name is QueenAusetHeru, and thank you for joining me for the wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and pass it on to somebody else who needs to know about narcissists. Please drop us positive comments in the comment section and let me know, have you ever been involved with a narcissist? It doesn't have to be a lover. A narcissist can be your child, it can be your parent, it could be your neighbor, it could be your coworker, your boss, it can be anybody. We would love to hear about it in the comment section. Also, if you would like to get a reading done, please hit me up on social media. Underneath this video, you will find all the information you need to find me. You will also find underneath this video resources. I'm going to put resources underneath this video for anyone who is in a narcissistically abusive relationship or who's healing from a narcissistically abusive relationship. Sometimes it can take years. So I have some things that could be helpful on your journey. Okay? Let's get started. So first of all, let me get us a working definition of a narcissist. So if you hear somebody call someone a narcissist, what they're saying is that that person has narcissistic personality disorder or they have narcissistic personality traits. Okay? And this is a mental health condition in which people have an unreasonably high sense of their own importance. The illusions of grandeur that I talked about when it comes to Voldemort, it's that kind of thing. They need and seek too much attention and want people to admire them. Now, most people want to be admired and appreciated. I'm sure you might as well. But a narcissist doesn't want to actually do any work to make that happen. Remember, I said Voldemort wants to be king, but he doesn't want to do the work of leading. It's that kind of vibration. And they want to be admired, and not just want to be admired. It really bothers them on a core level when people don't see them as being the greatest thing in the room. That bothers them. It's a deep insecurity for many of them. People with this disorder may lack the ability to understand or care about the feelings of others. And this is the worst part about it, because I think that anybody can be selfish, right? And sometimes you'll hear people say, oh, everybody's a narcissist. We all have the ability to be selfish. It's not just about being selfish. If somebody tells you that everybody's a narcissist, that person is a narcissist that's trying to gaslight you, because they know if you start thinking about these cycles of abuse, you're going to see them for who they are. Narcissists don't want to be seen for the fucked up individual that they are. So don't let them gaslight you. Do not do that. Anybody can be selfish. Anybody can put themselves first, but not everybody is going to lack the ability to understand or care about other people's feelings. That's a very specific mental illness. Okay? Now, if you're dealing with a narcissist, you probably have noticed the cycles of narcissistic abuse. This is a pattern of harmful behaviors used by one person to manipulate and exploit another person. So you will often hear people say that narcissists have a supply, and the supplies are people. Okay? In many cases, the supplies are people. These are people that the narcissist is feeding off of. Usually their lovers, their friends, their co-workers, their family, their children. They're feeding off their energy. That's why I call the covert narcissist Hannibal. That's his nickname. Because of the fact, like I said, the whole Silence of the Lambs tie-in, because he feeds off other people. You see? So that's the thing. Now, it says here that it usually consists of a 4-stage pattern: ideation, devaluation, discard, and hoover. Idealization is when they first meet somebody or they first come back into somebody's life. And this is what happened with me in Hannibal. So let me explain how we went through all the stages. In 2012, I put Hannibal out of my life because I had been dealing with him in my early 20s. And I let him stay in my life up until 2012. In 2012, I started to see a woman who I really liked, y'all. Oh my God, did I like her. And Hannibal started to act stupid. Now, mind you, he and I weren't together. We've always been kind of like entangled, you know. I was an entangled person back then. So we've always been kind of entangled, but not really together. So I didn't feel like he had any right to tell me who I could spend time with. So in 2012, when he started tripping, when I started seeing this beautiful woman, I kicked him to the curb. I did a banishing spell and got rid of him. That was really what happened. So 10 years later, in 2022, I had a dream about Hannibal. And I took the dream to mean that maybe he had changed. But that's really not what the dream was saying. The dream was saying that I had never healed and reconciled that situation. And I hadn't. I hadn't healed it. I hadn't reconciled it. I had just banished him and ran away, you know, basically just ghosted. But I never really dealt with it, you know. And I had been in that part in 2022. And before that, I was in that stage of my life where I was reconciling the past. So what the dream was really telling me was there were still things here that had not been reconciled the past. So I reached out to him after all that time, you know. Well, in the first conversation, he told me he was a narcissist. But because he didn't act bizarre and grandiose like Voldemort, I didn't really take it seriously. I was just like, oh, well, you know, your therapist said that. I know, you know. I kind of blew it off because I was like, well, he's in treatment. He's not bad like Voldemort. We can be friends. Truth of the matter was he wasn't in treatment. He only went to his therapist once or twice. He wasn't really taking his recovery seriously. And I just kind of took it for granted. You know, he said that he seemed better. You know, he seemed better to me and his behavior was better. So I just kind of took it for granted that he was better. Now, the truth is, he was not better. Narcissists, especially covert narcissists like him, are really good actors. So, when we first saw each other again, we were going through the idealization stage. This is the stage where a lot of love bombing occurs. So in this stage, you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. They're giving you gifts. They're staring in your eyes. They always want to talk to you. You know, you are the greatest. You know, love bombing, like just bombing, just, the love is everywhere, you know, and you are awesome. So he and I went through that stage from May into October. From May into October, I was just the greatest thing since sliced bread. Everything was awesome. We were best buddies. He was calling me 6-7 times a day. And I had this rule with him. Because he works a lot and is like the manager of his department, I always had this rule where he had to contact me. I was leaving messages, but he had to call and contact me so that I wasn't disturbing him in the things that he was doing. So throughout the day, my phone rang constantly. My instant messenger went off constantly, and we constantly talking to each other. And like I said, I'm just the greatest. Now, October rolled around. His personality completely flipped. And I'm not the greatest no more. He got this god-awful attitude. He's talking down to me. He's acting real shitty. And I'm just like, well, maybe he's not okay because he did get sick during that time. And things at work were kind of crazy. And I was like, okay, well, maybe that's what it is. About a week into it, I was like, I don't know what's wrong with him, but fuck this. I don't know what he's going through, but he acting like a straight ass. So that's when we have come from idealization to the next phase, which, what did they call it? I'm going to give you the exact name for it. Devaluation. Now you're in devaluation. They're devaluing you. You are not perfect and you can do nothing right. You wasn't perfect in the first place, but they were at least treating you like that. Now you can do nothing right. They're talking down to you and they're acting real abusive, verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, and sometimes physically abusive. But because we were in two different countries, it was mostly the emotional and verbal kind. And I was like, at first you think a person just don't feel good. At first you think a person having a bad day. At first you think something's going on because that's what he was saying. And I'm like, okay, well, I got you. You know, let's just talk some other time. But when this continued to happen for about a week, I was like, yeah, this isn't. So in October, I cut him off. And some of y'all know about this because he's the Libra that I talked about in October. And I think I did a video about it where I said I had to kick this Libra to the curb. This is Hannibal, same person. So I kicked Hannibal to the curb. A lot of y'all was like, yes, you know. And this is when we go into discard. During discard, either you discard them or they discard you, and sometimes both. So for him, he stopped talking to me one day. It was like a Friday. And I said to myself, he acting shitty. I don't need him. He getting on my nerves, and this is not fun anymore. It's not sweet anymore. So I blocked him. So basically, we discarded each other. I blocked him. Went about my business. Now, this was October. In May, I was still angry. I was still very angry. And so I emailed him and was like, you know, telling him that I was angry. So he emailed me back. And this is when the hoover happened. This is when the person, the narcissist, hoovers you back in. Now, remember back in the day, there used to be this vacuum cleaner company, and it was called Hoover. Hoover is about sucking something back into you. So this is when that happened. So he hoovered me back in this past May. Okay? So I'm hoovered back in. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. You know, things won't be like that anymore. I was going through something. I understand why you stopped talking to me. So understanding, so therapeutic, you know, everything you want to hear, right? So I come back. Here we go with idealization again. It all started over again. I started getting gifts from him. He started being so sweet. I'm so pretty again. I can do no wrong again. We're right back into the thick of it. He's so supportive. Everything is awesome. until September. Okay, so now you see the pattern. It played out, and it probably played out all the way from when I first was seeing him, but I didn't see it before. Now I can clock it. So devaluation is now going to begin. So again, I can't do anything right. Again, he's going through something. Somebody died, somebody got cancer, somebody did this happened. His main supply and him are fighting, because remember, he got more than one supply. He's seeing multiple people. I'm thinking the main supply and I talked. She said it was at least 5. And I'm thinking to myself, is that it? You know? So anyway, main supply is acting up. All this stuff is happening. Now I get devalued. So he's coming at me. We're having problems again. But this time, I have plane tickets that he paid for me to visit California, where he lives. So I don't want to go. I don't want to go at this point. I'm just like, nah, he paid for everything. And I felt like that was a really sweet gesture during the idealization phase. But now I'm like, this going to be ass. I don't want to go. So I was at my altar praying, and God has said to me, you have to go. And I'm like, why? And she said to me, there's things you can't see from where you're standing. So that told me he was hiding things that I could not see good from where I was standing. So I had to go there to see the real face, to see the face without the mask. Because the covert narcissist constantly wears a mask. That's why I call him Hannibal Lecter, because his mask is he wears suits every day. He comes off like he's so nice, such a great guy, so intelligent, so put together. His hair is always perfectly cut. His nails are perfectly done. He comes off like he's such a great guy and so perfect. And Goddess was like, you can't see behind the mask from where you are. So I go to California. Now, he's in and out of devaluation at this point. Sometimes I'm great, sometimes I'm not. You know, I get to California. He buys everything. He pays for everything. The food, the transportation to and from the airport, my liquor, you know, every fucking thing. I think he even bought me like things for the bathroom and all kinds of stuff because I was at an Airbnb. Okay, so I'm there. And by the second day, we're sitting there talking. And I realized something. This is before everything Goddess was talking about came up. I realized this ain't it. You know, I realized I spent my whole life settling for people I didn't really want to be with. That's what I realized. While I was sitting there on the bed watching TV talking to him, I realized I was getting ready to settle once again for a friendship or whatever it turned into that wasn't what I wanted. Okay? I read all this poetry. I write all this poetry, and I have in my soul, like, I want somebody who's decent. I want somebody who's loving. I want somebody who's good. I want somebody, even if they're just a friend, it doesn't have to be a relationship. I want people who I celebrate. I want people I love and love me. And narcissists can't love you because they don't love themselves. So they can't love you. They're just using you for whatever energy they're getting from you. And they don't have that loving vibration, you know? And as I'm sitting there with him, I'm just like, I don't want this. I don't want this. It's nothing to do with him, you know. Yeah, it has something to do with him, but I don't want this. I don't want to settle again. So while we're sitting on the bed, he asked me something about what did I see happening in the future? And I told him that I wanted to be platonic friends, that I did not see this going anywhere, that I mean, and then we need to scale it back too, that we need to talk like once a week, you know, but I wanted to maintain the friendship. I think I said to him, I want you to call me every week and tell me what you're doing to make yourself happy. And I'll tell you what I'm doing to find true love. So we talked, we laughed. It seemed like it was fine. It seemed like he was cool with that. Like he seemed like he felt the same way, I thought. And then we spent that whole day together, had a great time. That was Thursday. Spent Friday together, off and on throughout the day he was there. Had a great time. Saturday, discard. Here comes discard. Because he was acting very bizarre the whole time up until now. We're okay, but he's bizarre, you know? And he disappeared on Saturday. So I texted him at like 9 o'clock in the morning to see what time he was coming, because I was going to get up and get ready and that kind of stuff, because we were going to spend the day together. So I got up, I texted him, he didn't respond. I knew right then and there why the cards had told me I couldn't trust him. It was the narcissistic cycle. Then it clicked in my head. That's what Goddess was trying to tell me. This person is a narcissist and is very toxic and is very dangerous. And he's pretending to be a good guy because you're so far away you can't see that he's not. Okay? So I was like, great. My feelings are terribly hurt. And I'm just like, all right, fine. He didn't respond. It had been like an hour. And I knew at that point that it was over, because he responds like that whenever I send a message, you know. So if it's an hour, there's now a problem. So I got up and I went into the bathroom and I was brushing my teeth and cleaning myself up. And I looked in the mirror and I thought, Voldemort. That's what came to my mind, because I was thinking to myself, what is the lesson here? There is a lesson here. And I thought, Voldemort. It's the same lesson you got with Voldemort. It's a self-love lesson. Whenever you deal with somebody who treats you badly or somebody who acts weird like this is a self-love lesson. And I was like, okay, self-love lesson. So in order to get a self-love lesson, I have to choose me. That's what all of this is about. Choosing myself. I looked into them. I was doing my face and everything. I looked in the mirror and I was so upset. I was crying. Oh my God, did I cry? Oh my God, I was so upset. And I was looking in the mirror and I said, I choose you. And I got up and I said, I don't care what excuse he gives. I don't care what he got to say. I am done. I walked across the room to my phone. I cussed him the fuck out. I left him a message cussing him the fuck out. And then I blocked him. I blocked him on all the methods that we communicated on. And then I started packing my stuff. The next day I went home. So we went through discard now. Okay, I'm home for a week. I'm crying every day because I'm so hurt. And I was hurt, y'all, because I thought this was my friend. You know, it's like, I didn't think, and I told you guys, I didn't see us going anywhere, but I thought we were friends. I've known this person since I was 22. So I thought that we were really friends. If nothing else, I thought we were friends. And Aquarius is the sign of friendship. Friendship means more to me than any fucking kind of relationships. So I was heartbroken. I was truly, truly heartbroken. So after that week, he sent me this lame ass email that says something like, sorry about the way things ended. It was some bullshit. And it was like, you couldn't even like talk to me? You want to send me a fucking email? So I didn't respond. That's the hoover. So now you're trying to hoover. So I didn't respond. So then he sent 3-4 other emails. Didn't respond. I think in one of them I might have told him go fuck yourself or something like that. But that was pretty much it. And then I was done. So it took me from October until February, this month, the beginning of the month, to stop crying. Okay? Every single day, at least for a couple of moments, I was crying. This hurt me deeply. So I'm going to stop here, because I have a lot more to tell you, and I have survivor statements to read, and this video is already too long. So please come back for part 2 of Aquarius versus the Narcissist.